Hey guys, as per request from Rumble, he said he wanted to see a process of the coating, which I'm assuming he meant covering. This is the 300 here. As you can see, I got turtle decks already covered, got the stabilizers, and underneath already covered in the front and back. I went ahead and did those because I'm a really fussy person when it comes to covering. Um, some of this was intricately covered, a lot of oil soaking stuff, so it took me a lot of time just to get the covering down on those. But that's completed. But I thought I'd show you the process, maybe how I do that right here in the front of the nose. You know, the way I do the covering is I measure where I have to put my piece at, and although the sides not covered, yes, I'm going the top first because it's in metallic blue, and when I put the white down on the side, I will leave me a nice, the white will follow this line right here, and it's going to leave me a nice trim. So I don't have to trim anything or do any other kind of stuff with it. It'll just be a finished piece of that product, at that point. Um, what I do is I take my covering and I measure around here, give myself a half an inch on each side, measure around here and give myself a half an inch. Whichever is bigger, I just make it, a rectangular piece that size. And then I, half to 3/4 inch front to back. And that's what I got here. And of course, I got my iron stuff all ready to go, but I'll show you how I do this. First, what I'm going to do is peel the backing off. If I seem kind of long-winded, just bear with me. I mean, I've done this 30-some years, and I couldn't even begin to tell you how many rolls of covering I have applied on airplanes. When you're doing a piece like this, I like to fold it backside out. Just give it a light fold, square up, so you know where the center of that piece is pretty much. Just like that, and just give it a light fold like that. I guess it's kind of a tutorial also. And then there's a center line here where the sheeting come together on the airplane. I've already brushed down the oil soaking and everything, but what I'm doing is lining that fold up with the center of that sheeting here. And I don't want to line this edge of the covering up, because then you have to trim around the dashboard. So what I do is I come around the dashboard, and what I'll do is I'll get this just about perfectly around that cockpit, get it all nice and centered up. It's kind of, the line's pretty hard to see back up through there, but I got it right about there, I believe. Let's see if I can follow that down. I may have to mark it. They got it visualized now. There's the center here. And then basically it'll center up if you even it up here and here in the process. And then once you have it down to where you like it, I kind of pull around that curve, mop it a little bit, and bump it back just a little. And I'll give it a slight tack right here. I'll come here, not down on the side, but just like right here and right here on the radius, and give it a tack. And what I'll do is I'll come to the front. I'll kind of pull it forward, not real hard to break my tack free, but just pull it forward, get it nice and centered up. You don't want the wrinkles this way, you don't want it wrinkled that way. But once you get it to where you're satisfied where the covering go nice and even, put you the tack there. Now you're really ready to go ahead and start finishing the piece down. Pull down on the back corner. Always start where from one end to the other. But you just want to watch the same thing. You want to watch for wrinkling as you do this. You want to kind of pull it, put your tack down here. Do the same thing over here. I'll reach over so you can see how I do this. You notice I'm not pulling it that way. I'm pulling it down in a manner that this all disappears pretty much by itself. Now it's not going to all disappear, but that's the beauty of it. It's a heat shrink, so you just lay a tack down just like that. Now let's see if I can keep it in the frame here so you can see how I do this. Um, it looks like I got it pretty much in there. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of pull here, put a tack on this side. I'll use the heel of the iron or something, just to tack it a little bit, just like that. You don't want to put it down hard yet. Then you want to do the same here. You just want to kind of hold down, put your tack down the side. Now that your tacking's all done, you start right in the center. And I start off by pulling back on the edge, just like this. Get that edge established. You notice I'm holding the iron probably about 25-degree angle, 30 degrees, something like that. Now, what you're going to do is follow all the way around with that. And you always pull and drag. Then when you get down to the side point, now you can just like lay this down a little bit. Then I'll do the same here. Not iron in there. Just pulling and pulling. And let it come over the side. Sometimes you got to watch and pull a little bit, which is okay. This is one of the reasons I use nothing but top flight monokote, except for inside the cockpit here. Use some of the Ultra Coat carbon fiber, which is a really sharp looking covering in sunlight. I mean, you just about cannot tell that any difference between that and real carbon fiber. Now I'm going to flop the model around. Get my trusty pad here. Let me get all this junk from underneath my fuselage here. Bring it up there. I'm basically going to do about the same thing, but I'm just going to, since this is a lined up edge, I'm going to kind of pull it out, make sure that edge gets down. A little bit of bumping and running. And then you start right here in the middle. And you just lightly, don't press hard, you just lightly come over top. Get that center line down. You're going to work from the top center out. Now the reason I tack it is so I can pull up and move if I need to. But, being monokote, now the process is for me, I'm just going to slowly move the iron back and forth. Let it shrink that covering and mount it to that wood. Now if you guys ever try this and you say, well, you know, I'm not getting those kind of results, well, check your iron temp. I run my iron hot. But one of the other things is too, is you notice I got a hot sock on the iron. And that helps distribute heat, and plus it keeps a lot of scratching out of your monokote. But now that whole area is already mounted. I mean, I don't have to do anything else with that. Then I come up here to the center and I do the same thing. Just slowly work back and forth. Just watch for the wrinkles to be ironed out. You know, if you ever try this for the first time, you know, you got to take a little time, figure out how the material works. You know, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's not hard either. It can be hard if you want it to be. Now, that side's complete. All the way down around the side, everything, it's all ironed down nice and smooth, all the way down to the side. And now what I'll do is I'll run just my iron on the flat one time, and just get that down. And then I'll start here again. And it doesn't really matter back to front. You've already got all your tacking done. But one thing I need to show you is I'm not using the front of the iron to do this. I'm using the back part of the iron. You get a little bit more heat down there, and it's a flatter part of the iron since these are designed to go around compound curves and stuff. But again, what you're watching for, I know you can't see it, but you'll see wrinkling disappear as you iron, and you just kind of work it back and forth, just like if you was mowing your yard or anything like that. You just work from one end of the yard to the other. You know, you work from one end of the plane to the other. A little bit of a nasty look right there that I don't want. One of the tricks I use, my hands have been burnt so many times from this stuff. My other half over there at the computer can tell you I burned my thumb plenty. And all because I was just too stubborn to let go of a piece, and I wanted it down right and everything, but countless thousands of times that I've done that. But basically you want to work like the center out, almost like if you're doing fiberglass work or any other kind of coating work, or, you know, and you just keep rolling it out. And then I'll show you the next step here. I'll get Froggy and put a white piece on for you. I won't put it completely on because the now let's give it a rundown. I'm trying to get that mounted down. Now the next step I need to do here is I need to find that line. I'll take a straight edge and I'll drop down below that canopy just a little bit, eyeball the body line. Which I'll do it this way because I've done this, like I said, thousands of times. I like to leave only about just a little bit over an 1/8 inch overhang for myself, but I'm going to leave a little bit more to show you guys. Hold that ruler down, give it a nice score right down that plywood. Get right up under the corner of the covering, peel that back. Sometimes it sticks a little bit better in spots than it does others. You may have to heat it sometimes too to get it to peel up. Let me throw that in the trash there. Then you flip it over and do the same thing on this side. It's actually going to be easier if I do it this way. Get that roller down on there. Get your distance you want there. Get your distance you want here. Hold her down, give her a score. Now if you do this on top of balsa, you make sure you have a very, very sharp tip on this because you'll cut right through that balsa. This has got plywood sides on it, so it's a little bit more forgiving. But you see why I don't mount it completely down. It comes off easy. Now I'll mount that edge. And to mount that edge, basically all you're going to do, you're going to double check your edge close to the corner. And you're just going to slowly run that iron down until you see that seam sit down. And then like I do, I mean, it's still hot. But I rub it down. Just like that. I'll push it into the wood to help that glue adhere to it. For those of you who might have a question, what is monokote? Well, monokote obviously is the covering for a model airplane. It's basically a heat shrink that is clear, and all your color on monokote is glue. It's a heat activated glue. If you used to take lacquer thinner and scrub the back of a piece of monokote, it'll disappear. It'll just turn clear and then it won't stick, it won't do nothing. It has to have the color on there. Now that it's cooled a little bit, you can look and see, okay, here's some light wrinkling here. Which that was a troubling oil spot. I don't understand how somebody got oil soaking up there because the motor was exhausted from underneath the airplane. But sometimes what I'll do is I'll get it heated up, hold my hand on it, give it a little pressure, rub it down on there until it cools a little bit, and then I'll hold it down. Now I just trim the front. Now what I do with the trim is I like to take my sharp knife and come just a little bit on this side. And take my scissors, trim it up here just a little bit to leave a little excess. But this is one of my favorite things to have with covering is scissors. You can follow around curves and stuff just so perfect with it. But the main thing with covering, the whole idea of it is it's not to make your plane look pretty. It's to actually keep oil off your wood. That's the whole purpose of the covering. Everything else is immaterial on top of that because if you're not keeping the oil out, what's the point? you might as well just cover it all in fabric of some sort, and then change fabric after a while, or build another airplane, because it'll just all be soaked with oil, especially where the exhaust gets back onto the airplane. But now, as you can see, I rolled right here at this hatch area. I rolled this piece in. It's all trimmed off of this bulkhead now. And now what I'm going to do is roll that bulkhead in. And since I don't have room enough to get my iron down in a position like this to get it, what I'm going to do is what I call a tuck and roll method. I tuck my iron into the corner, and I kind of roll into that edge, just like that. Just roll it around. You just get it flat, and you kind of roll it. You kind of roll over this way. Just kind of dive into it. Then you just do the same thing all the way around. And then I'll lay that edge right in. Then once you got in there, you just give it a good seal. There you go, nice clean edge. Now if I was to build this airplane from scratch, the covering would go on actually a lot easier, because this, like I mentioned before, this airplane was given to my buddy Mike. Not given to him, well, he bought it off another guy. The guy put a brand new Super Tiger 61 on a 40 size plane. Flew great with it. He built it well. It's a nice solid bird, but there's some things that need to be desired. The sanding job and a couple other things is just not up to the snuff. But if, like I said, if I was to build this plane, I'm a perfectionist when it comes to having everything smooth and right. But basically, there you go. That's how I put the covering on. And then what I'll do, I'll walk around here and grab some of the white that I've pre-cut. You just basically, everything's basic on a dual cut. Everything's basically. There's the fuselage side piece that I cut out. Find your white area. You know you want your blue in a certain area. You know you have to have the white down to a certain area. So you measure that. Front to back, you measure that, cut out the piece. Well, what I'm going to do with this white is when I go to apply it, I'll have the airplane on its side. I know where I want the white line to follow through. The white line is actually going to stop right at the stabilizer up here, which means I'll have to crop just a little cut up in there. And then what I'll do is I'll line this up all the way through here, just straight down the airplane. I'll use that body line. And as you can see, once it's on, you'll have a nice crisp edge and everything. There'll be no extra trimming or anything need to be done up here. It's a finished edge. But there you go. Let me get the fuselage done. There's some trim on the tail section, and maybe some landing gear and a Barbie put in it, or not Barbie, I don't know what they call her, but
doll.
My cheap doll, my hot blonde. I can't get her to dye her hair, so I have to get a blonde otherwise. But then, you know, there you go, that's the process. And I went ahead and did the turtle deck first, because if I would have showed you how to do the turtle deck, that would have been a 3-hour video. This has got a lot of processes too, because you have to cut around the tail section. And the design of the airplane, you know, scheme that I'm going off of is, as you can see from the photos, the blue is down here at the stabilizer and then up on the vertical, which I do have those cut. Now those lay down just the same way. You're going to lay your airplane down to a point. You notice I got just a little overlap. Then I'll line that up, iron it. When you go to roll and stuff, you trim straight. Vertical comes up at an angle, you trim this angle. It comes up straight here, you trim straight. Then you crop this little piece out. You know, it just takes little trimmings here and there. And then your verticals later on, then you roll your edges the same way I did here. And then one of the keys is you want to try to leave as little seam as possible, but you want to definitely get enough overlap to keep the oil out, obviously. But there you go. Thanks for watching, guys. Keep you posted.